Yeah, man, this is Danny Dreadlock telling you, say, the time has come for the lion story to be heard, you know? Here, there, and everywhere. Have no fear. The lion story. And this is the lion voice. Seeing production every time.
Well, lion voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion voice. Yeah, I'm a Gideon. Cataclysmic forces, good over evil. Yeah, for the ghetto youth worldwide. I see the youths nowadays, they growing up. Wanna know the truth, they wanna know what's up. They got no fear now, they'll call you bluff. They asking questions cause they had enough. Why? Some gone stray cause times is tough. Some walk with the machine, ready to bust. I'ma give you when things get dangerous. No, in the ghetto things get dangerous. On the battlefield things get dangerous. Them carry RPG, M16. Got a problem to wipe out your whole team. For American dream, them get scandalous. Them put us into the ghetto, try abandon us. Cause we the remnant of the first sons of Kush. Warrior tribes, we not the ones to push. Just look into them history, see we rebellious. That's cause them systems so unjust. Take the shackles and chains, change them to handcuffs. Release your physical frame, them want your brain. Them a vampire looking for blood to drain. Highly Selassie come and break every chain. Bob Marley tell them, now we tell them again, yo. We tell them this ain't a game, but this a Armageddon, you got to mentally train. Yeah, I tell them this ain't a game, but this is heaven on earth, or go burn in the flames. Yeah, I tell them this ain't a game, I say I gotta play your hate cause some things gotta change. I tell them this ain't a game, but this a time for African people to rise. I tell them earthquake, hurricane, tornado, the wind blows and brings rains. I got the whole west coast in flames. Melt the Arctic poles and flood the seas. Hurricane force winds blow down the trees. Whole earth feel the pain when the bombs release. Read your psalms, release David prophecies. Marcus Garvey said look to the east. Rastafari is the prince of peace. And Haile Selassie I come conquer the beast, yo. They trap the youths with them luxuries to get the ladies. Gotta drive Mercedes, people killing babies. Try to keep us down with AIDS. We descended from kings, now we surround with plague. Man, I kill them brother man to drive the Escalades. I can't stand Babylon and all the mess they made. Teach the youths that them best when them rest in the grave. Wolf trick the lion, got the lion a shade. Can't reach Mount Zion unless you learn to behave. Got to stand firm cause these is perilous days. Greetings in that divine name of His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie I. Glory and honor in the name of his chosen queen, Empress Waziri Menen. My name is Kwasi Bansu, aka the Chasmach Kwasi, aka Ras Kwasi, aka the Reading Ras, aka the Pan-African Happy Man. I'm a creative industry attorney, I'm an author, I'm an actionist, I'm an artist, and right now I am the host of the Lion Voice. Welcome to the Lion Voice Network and welcome to Lion Talk Live. This is the latest show on the Lion Voice Network where we come live bringing some of the movers and shakers from across the Pan-African world. Tonight we have a very special guest. I'm very honored, in fact, to bring forward our guest and also honored to bring forward the topic. I have said for a long time I work on a lot of different things behind the scenes, and this is one of those things that I've been privileged and blessed to work with, almost over a year now, as an advisory capacity, helping to draft the Constitution, consultation on the development plans and all of the different things for this institution that we're going to talk about tonight, a vital institution within the Rastafari community. And we have the very first appointed public relation officer of that institution,
someone who is also a board member of the Leonard Howell Foundation, someone who's also a lecturer at the University of the West Indies, someone who also carries the name of Doctor, a brethren I know for many years now, seeing the works on the battlefield front line, a brethren who recently now has been chatting to Ghana, so we also have to touch the Ghana repatriation talk. You know, we can't leave out that part there. Who am I talking about? Family. I'm talking about Dr. Michael Barnett. Welcome. Dr. Barnett is here with us live from Kingston, Jamaica. Greeting, my brother. How's everything?
Yes, give thanks, Raskwazi. Yeah, man. Everything is wonderful, you know. Give
Yes,
thanks, yes.
yes. Welcome to Lion Talk. You know, this is our platform. We're here building on the second largest search engine on the planet. We feel like Rastafari need to be represented. So it's an honor to have guests of the high stature here with us this evening to talk about what we're talking about, which is the formation of the Rastafari Mansion and organization in Jamaica. But before we go into that part, I just introduce the myself. Who is Dr. Barnett? Where did I born? Where did I from? What the I does in terms of work, because I want them to know who the I is before we jump into the topic.
Well, very quickly, I would just say that I am a Pan-Africanist who believes in the upliftment and empowerment of African people worldwide, and doing that through the ideology and the mantle of Rastafari. But having said that, I also see education as very vital because, you know, His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie set the example by carrying the portfolio of Minister of Education throughout his entire reign, and that was deliberate because he saw that education is the tool for the upliftment and empowerment of people, of a nation. And in fact, that is why it's no accident that his gift to Jamaica when he came here in 1966 was a school, the Haile Selassie High School, which bears his name, and which, you know, some of I on the ground here in Jamaica trying to uplift and to improve in its own way, both materially and in terms of curriculum and, you know, just basically trying to empower and to enlighten staff and students, you know. But it's a mission in which through education, enlightenment, upliftment, you know, anything is possible. And we as a people sometimes forget our legacy, forget the African legacy.
Yes.
Of building civilization, of contribution to the planet, of setting a foundation. Because of the transatlantic slave trade, you know, I have suffered psychologically, have suffered in terms of health and in many ways. And that is why we also have a reparations movement that includes repatriation, because we seek to repair the damage that has been done to us as a people and as a nation. But having said that, we have much to be grateful for. And if we really are able to realize what we've achieved in the past, I believe we can fulfill our full potential, because my perspective is that as a people, we have yet to fulfill our full potential, my brother. We're still striving, still rising, but we haven't reached the heights, in my opinion, that we were at in the past, centuries ago.
Dia is a very wise man, and I like I said, I don't want it to be just two talking heads here. So just give a little bit about your background. Were you born in Jamaica? You're a lecturer at the University of the West Indies. We have a lot of young people who watch. I want them to know, you know, when you're delivering this message,
yeah,
you know, that this is someone who is rooted in the culture. This is someone who
Here's my thing, Raskwazi.
Yes, I.
what I'm going to say is I was born in the West, but what is important to me,
Yes.
and really important, is that I am a African that is presently domiciled in the West. So
Yes.
just the fact that I'm born in the West, whether it's Jamaica, whether it's the US, whether it's the UK
Yes.
or
Yes.
whatever,
Yes.
to
Yes. Yes.
me that is not the pivotal issue. The pivotal issue
Hmm.
is that we are Africans that happen to be domiciled in the West for
Yes.
reasons not of our own making. So I don't like to place too much emphasis
Okay.
on the fact
Overstand.
is I was born outside of the continent,
Yes.
and
Overstand.
this is an
Overstand.
issue that, in terms of restoration for myself, why I've been making several trips to the continent myself, because for me it's a kind of therapy. It's psychological therapy for what has happened to my ancestors, and to reaffirm my African identity. It's
Yes.
important when I take a trip to the motherland for many reasons. So
Definitely.
first and foremost, I want to say, from an identity perspective, the key thing is that we are Africans that happen to be domiciled in the West. I think we
In the
make too
West.
much out of exactly where
Where
we're born.
exactly where?
And
So in term.
that becomes an issue of separation. I don't care if somebody happens to be born in the US, or you're
Yes.
born in St. Kitts, or you're born in Trinidad or whatever. If
The
you're an
boat just
African,
drop us off at different spots.
yes.
Talk to us about your journey to become a lecturer at the University of the West Indies, because that is not a simple thing. And a lot of people might not know that we have Rastafari in these type of positions,
Yeah.
because typically
Well,
we see Rastafari as just artists. So talk about that journey.
it's a combination of things, Rasquazi. I mean, first and foremost, I have to give thanks to my parents who have transitioned, but at least I had got into university at the time that one of my parents transitioned, and I was able to graduate, and my other parent saw that. But they were exemplars of the importance of a strong education. They were exemplars of being literate, of reading, of valuing knowledge, and trying to uplift one's mind. So they set an example, and I followed through. And then, my parents were also part of the Black Power movement of the
Okay.
60s. So, for instance, when I was just 11 years old, my birthday present was the biography of Marcus Garvey.
Wow.
And then the next birthday, I get the autobiography of Malcolm X and so forth. So, this is where, the kind of influences then that I grew up in. So, being a Pan-Africanist was just a natural direction in a way. And my father was very adamant that the Black people, to uplift themselves and empower themselves, must be with a Pan-African ethos, you
Yes.
know, and he was very clear about that. So, I really have to give thanks to my parents, by and large, for the pathway that I have traversed. And in reading and so forth, I realized that how powerful education is, and then I decided to become an educator myself, but an educator that was knowledgeable in their own right. So um, essentially, to inspire the youth, inspire the next generation, our educators are very important, and we
Definitely.
just have to
Definitely.
bear this in mind. So there's different ways of inspiring people. We can do it so
Definitely.
artistically, we can do so as educators, we can do so in many shapes and forms, but there has to be a group of people on the ground inspiring the next generation, because the truth is that without a powerful next generation, then our future is limited. So the
And I
battle is being fought on many fronts, and it's an all-encompassing, um, if you like, battle, what I consider it as a battle of sort, because we are also dealing with external forces that don't necessarily looking, favorable to our
Yeah,
self-interest.
definitely. And I think it's so crucial because I have a similar story. I grew up in a Pan-African home, where education was stressed. That's how I went into law school. So we have a very similar journey. And I know that, well, before I go into your books, because I want to also let the people know you're also an author, what area of study do you do at the University of the West Indies? What is your area?
Well, my area of specialization is critical race theory,
Okay.
coming out of sociology. Sociology is where I got my PhD in.
Okay.
Um,
That was my major in undergrad as well. So you see it there?
yes, see. So,
Yes.
looking at the world through the spectrum of society and how society impacts the individual and so forth. But my area of emphasis is African diaspora studies. So
Okay.
looking at also the various movements, Pan-African movements that arose from us in the West, because the truth of the matter is that because our ancestors found themselves in this very oppressed or downpressed state, having been enslaved and so forth. Pan-Africanism actually grew from the African diaspora as opposed to the continent. And then in a way, we have introduced this Pan-African concept to our brothers and sisters on the continent, because we have to realize that certainly prior to colonialism, they were existing as ethnic groups. They're and still today, our African
Yes.
brothers and sisters
Kingdoms.
identify
Kingdoms.
ethnically. But the
Yeah.
key thing
They
is
call
that,
them tribes, but they were really kingdoms. Many
yeah,
kingdoms.
many kingdoms. But here's the thing: is that once those countries, the nations, have been transcribed by Europeans after the Berlin Conference of 1884, 1885, as you know, and what was done deliberately, those borders that we have on the continent of Africa have been drawn by the former European colonial powers. So what's happened is they deliberately pushed particular ethnic groups together, okay, in one nation. And what has happened is, if we analyze that, it brings the distinct possibility or susceptibility to ethnic tension and ethnic rivalry. Because instead of looking at the welfare of the nation as a whole, you have some groups that are saying, we want to be in power, we want the
Yes.
riches of this nation, and we don't really care so much about the other ethnic groups. So for Nigeria, for instance, it was in me, actually, I never realized the degree of ethnic tensions between the Yoruba and the Igbo, for instance,
Yes. Yes.
until I happened to go to University of London in England, where there was a whole host of Nigerians studying there. And what became apparent to me, my brother, was when I was in the dining hall. The Igbos were on one side of the dining hall, and the Yorubas were on the other. And I had to ask, why aren't you sitting together? What's going on? And the Igbos told me flatly, we don't mix with those Yoruba people. We don't want
Yes.
nothing to
Yes.
do with them. When we got to the Yorubas, them said, sure, we can't deal with the Igbos and stuff. And so firsthand, so this
Yeah.
is me as an 18-year-old. I said,
I,
wow,
I learned this lesson. I went to the Mecca, Howard University. So
okay,
I learned this lesson about tribalism at the Mecca,
interesting.
not just with Africa, but with the Caribbean as well, because I grew up in Toronto, which is a diaspora. Once you're Caribbean, everybody kind of mix up together. And then coming to Howard University and seeing, the tensions and the animosities, because I came from that Pan-African home like the eye. So it's serious. But the eye is also just not a lecturer. The eye is also an author. Talk to us about your book, because before we seal up, I'm going to
Yeah,
ask the eye to let ones know they can also purchase that book or they can get their hands. But talk to us, what
yeah.
was the book that the eye, because I'm the reading Ras, Dr. Barnett. You don't know that
Okay.
side of me.
All
I'm the
right.
reading
So
Ras.
so I have some publications on Rastafari, notably, because it's not just living Rastafari, but
Yeah,
writing about it and documenting the history of Rastafari history, because some people take that for granted, but I don't take Rastafari history for granted at all.
Yeah.
So there is probably the first publication, and I I know it's very readily available, is an anthology I put together called Rastafari in the New Millennium.
Okay.
And that came out about 2011, but that was, you know, around about when we went into the Ethiopian millennium, which was 2007. But
Yes.
I was working on that text from 2007. So Rastafari in the New Millennium, that's from Syracuse University Press. That's readily available on Amazon. Then I have a single authored book that I just wrote myself, from front cover to back cover, and that is The Rastafari Movement, a North
Okay.
American and Caribbean perspective. So
Okay.
in that, I try to detail my own experiences of Rastafari, both in North America, because as you know, well, some people may not know, but I'd spent several years in South Florida.
Yes.
Almost, yeah, about 15 years actually in South Florida. So that is probably the area, the region I'm most familiar with. But being in the US, I had a feel for Rastafari organizations and the you know, the vibrancy of Rastafari in the US, also Rastafari in the Caribbean as well. From my experience in Jamaica, and you know, traveling to Barbados, traveling to St. Vincent and some of the other islands in the Caribbean. So using my first-hand experience of Rastafari in both the Caribbean and the US, I formulated that book. And then beyond that, there's Leonard Percival Howe, which is an
Yes.
anthology that myself, Jelani Naya, Dr. Jelani Naya,
Big up Dr. Naya. Big up
worked
Dr.
on,
Naya.
yes.
Yeah, man.
So we put our heads together, and also Dr. Dave Dunkley, who is presently teaching in the US now. But we decided to try and put a comprehensive study on Leonard Howe and his influence, because as the father of the Rastafari movement, there wasn't that much written about him. Actually, Bobby Hill had written an article rather, on Leonard Howe, and that was the only existing scholarly source. As well,
Wow.
there is the first Rasta by Helen Lee.
Yes, but
But
she's
my
not Jamaican. Yes, yes. So
yeah,
it's an outside perspective.
outside perspective, and it's written more as from a journalistic perspective. She didn't really use many historical sources or so forth
Okay.
writing it, but you know, that brought some light to Leonard Howe nonetheless. So there's that, and then there's the newest anthology on Rastafari. It's a 2020 vision perspective on Rastafari, which
Okay.
was written, you know, in 2020 and during the COVID period, and trying to look at Rastafari as like a flashpoint, or if you like, a photo perspective of Rastafari at that point in time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Serious work. So, how did you become a board member of the Leonard P. Howell Foundation? And what was that journey like? And what is the Leonard P. Howell Foundation for those who may not be familiar?
Well, how I became a member was for one thing, I came into contact with Sister Kathy Howe,
Yes.
Catherine Howe, in 2009 thereabouts.
Yes.
Well, I glimpsed her in South Florida, because
Yes. Yes.
she's based somewhere in South Florida when I was living there. But we came together and met in Jamaica in 2009, and we were looking at trying to get Pinnacle lots declared at Pinnacle at the time. Unfortunately, it was unsuccessful in 2009. We did make an
Yes.
attempt.
I
Unfortunately,
remember. I remember because we hosted her also in DC around that time as well.
right,
Big up
right,
Sister Catherine.
right. So then she had started. She actually had written and registered the LPH Foundation at that time. But then things really started growing in terms of momentum, so far as I'm concerned, when Monty and Billy Howell came on the scene, which was 2010. And so we had a joint conference. We hosted Monty, Billy, and Kathy at UWI, and we decided to have a Leonard Howell conference. So it was a 3-day conference. This is 2011.
Okay.
And that was, when was it? It would have been, June 2011, because we did it deliberately around the Earth Day of the Honorable Leonard Howell, which is the 16th of June.
Yes, give thanks.
And that was very successful, and it was so powerful. We said we need to write a book, out of that. Myself, Clinton, and Jelani.
So all of these things were happening simultaneously when you were doing the research, connecting with the offspring of Leonard Howell,
Yes.
and leaving this legacy in terms of the Leonard Howell Foundation.
Yes.
And what is the Leonard P. Howell Foundation now?
So
What is it?
fundamentally, it's to champion the legacy of the Honorable Leonard Percival Howell, to champion the legacy, and to agitate as well for Pinnacle to become something substantive, for there to be substantive development with the remaining lots of Pinnacle, because we have the land, but there's been no substantive development there. And by that, I mean, erecting buildings,
Yes.
Having lots of land set aside for farming. We are looking, and we hope to have the remains of Sir Leonard Howell actually have a mausoleum there at Pinnacle, since he spent so much time and effort and resources in establishing it. I think it's only fitting that his remains are there. The mausoleum is there, in terms of a tribute to his work, and the family are very much for it. His children are for it. So we want some substantive development to take place there, but it's going to take talks, it's going to take negotiations, and so forth. So we have that. So,
yes. And this brings us to the topic of tonight's discussion, which is Leonard P. Howell Foundation is one of the founding members of the Rastafari Mansion and organization. So take us through, why Leonard P. Howell Foundation, which, in its own right has been doing works, is now coming together with other Rastafari mansions and organizations in this hour. Just kind of give us a synopsis, and we'll reason it out.
I would give you a very frank synopsis. In truth and in fact, we had originally enlisted with a previous umbrella group in Jamaica known as the Rastafari Millennium Council.
Yes.
But then what was, I would say, a great idea and a great initiative, which started in 2007, this just simply imploded.
Yes.
Because of various personality issues on the inside, personality conflicts. It imploded, and it didn't work. And so far as the LPH Foundation is concerned, we were misrepresented by them. So there was no benefit for us coming under that particular umbrella. So we decided to leave. We basically left them, and now with a new umbrella group about to be formed and formulated, this just definitely, my perspective was that this is a much better bet. This is looking more sound than the previous one, and we also see the benefit. We recognize the benefit of greater strength in numbers and greater strength in unity with other Rastafari organizations, because what we have, there's a uniqueness, the Rastafari movement, and it consists of several houses and mansions, right? We know, at least internally, we know it's not a homogeneous movement.
No.
Having said that, it is possible to have unity without uniformity. And
Yes.
that unity
Crucial.
under an umbrella group brings coherence to representations to the movement as a whole. It brings greater potential resources. It brings a louder voice to the table. So it makes perfect sense to be part of an umbrella organization, so long as that organization works as it's supposed to. Yes?
And can you name some of the organizations that are a part of this unity?
Absolutely. We have very notably the EABIC, that is the Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress,
And that's
otherwise known as
historic because
Publishers.
they were not a part of the
They have
RMC.
they
They've
weren't
never
part of
signed.
that first
Yes.
umbrella group. So this is the first time they've joined an umbrella group. So it is very historic. And certainly Rastquasi. We also, of course, have the Rastafari Coral Gardens Benevolent Society, otherwise known as the RCGBS.
Yes.
We have ARC, the Association of Rastafari Creatives.
Big up
We
our
have
family.
Starscape. We have Sugarloaf. We have Canacure. We have the Rastafari Indigenous Village. And we also have Empress of Zion, I understand, has just joined or on the verge of joining us.
Yes,
And we
yes.
have Root House. We have House of Seba, House of Dread. And we have Peacemakers Association, and we have School of Vision. And then
Okay.
we add LPH Foundation to that.
Powerful.
So we have a great representation there in terms of the Rastafari organizations and mansions.
And I understand that the RMO has extended observer status to the Nyabingi House and the 12 Tribe of Israel, that there's an
Yes.
open invitation.
Absolutely, yes. They have observer status.
And I want to be very transparent, family. I have been a part of this process very intimately. So I know all of the information. Dr. Barnett is the PR officer, but, I'm also familiar with all of the information. So I'm going to let him do his work, but I'm going to chime in as well, because this is very historic. I've been teasing my audience that work is happening behind the scenes within Rastafari. That I would love to share with them. So this is a very big moment for this platform, because we are finally able to share, and we want to make it very clear that the RMO is going to grow. We're starting with these organizations, but this is not a closed gate policy. We have to start somewhere, but there will be a process, and there will be the ability for other mansions and organizations on the ground to grow. But I want you to just, let the people know in terms of RMO, what makes the RMO so necessary at this time.
Well, as I said, the Rastafari are in truth still stigmatized in Jamaica. It's not, we can't say we've arrived and everything is splendorous and so forth. So, and we need a strong voice coming from the Rastafari community to certainly to explicate or at least articulate the wants, needs, desires, and the any contentions that we have, and we do have a few. We still see that Rastafari is stigmatized in the schools. Locks is still a resistance to one's children wearing their locks at schools. We can't sit back and say everything is peachy keen and splendid.
And a lot of my listeners are going to be shocked, Dr. Barnett. I have a lot of viewership in Africa, around the world, and they're going to be shocked to know that Jamaica, that was the launching pad for Rastafari culture, that discrimination happened. People think that Jamaica is a Rastafari paradise.
But
So
it's not. This is the starting place, but it's Rastafari still have to fight for certain rights and for a certain degree of recognition. Even the sacramental rights, as you know, Rasquazi, we're
yes,
still trying to um, is enforce really the sacramental rights that we've been granted. So there's still we still need that degree of acknowledgement, so far as the, if you want to call them religious sacramental rights, still have to be acknowledged by all of the powers that be, such that Rastafari are not harassed if they happen to have more than 2 ounces, which are allowed the regular citizen of herb with them when they're traveling. Rastafari are not harassed if they choose to grow more than 5 plants of ganja in their land, or any acreage they may own, and so forth. So while we're laying that out, that's not the only thing, though. We still in Jamaica have cases for internal reparations that have not been resolved.
okay,
The Coral Gardens atrocity, let me say, has been acknowledged and has been addressed by the Jamaican government. Want to
okay,
acknowledge that. But then we also have the issue of Pinnacle. We have Howlites still alive who were
yes,
evicted along with Leonard Howell in the late 50s from Pinnacle. They're still alive, and they still
very critical.
can remember that. They're traumatized. And certainly I can speak for his two oldest children, which is Monty and Billy Howe. Monty was 17 when he was evicted, and Billy was like 16.
Wow,
And, Monty especially is very much traumatized from that. In fact, both of them, and if you interview them and tell it, they left Jamaica soon after
yes,
because they
yes.
just felt
I've met
stuck.
them, but
Huh?
I'm gonna need the guy to set up the interview. We need them on the Lion Talk.
Uh-huh.
I've met them in person, but we definitely want to
Yeah.
interview them, and we have Bakawal also as a track.
Well, thank you.
Yes,
1966. The
yes,
dwellings, Rastafari dwellings, were bulldozed down unceremoniously. There was no forewarning. There's been no compensation. Listen, you
yes,
lose your not just your dwellings, but all your personal belongings, and no compensation given to any of the Rastafari who were resident in Bakawa. Room was made for Tivoli Gardens,
yes.
but the Rastafari weren't considered a priority in the scheme of things. So what can I say? So all of this has been unaddressed, and the RMO is a vehicle that can bring this readily to the table.
And I think that's crucial to get across, because without an entity that can speak with one voice for Rastafari, then a lot of these things will never be addressed, because there's no one entity that can take on these initiatives. You spoke about the ganja, and we have some major news that has just come out with the ganja. That's going to be, I know there's going to be a presentation at the Rastafari Unity Day. We'll talk about that shortly on Sunday. There's going to be a Raga presentation, and Raga now will be become a committee of the RMO, because Raga already consists of the membership of the RMO, and Raga is overlapping. So it's really a consolidation that's happening of the community. And as we said, there'll be other organizations that join. I saw some documentation. I won't bust the news here tonight, that came down from Ministry of Justice, but I know that will be a topic at the launch. So we're saying to the Rastafari family, make sure they attend. Also, we have the intellectual property rights. I know that is something that there's so much Rastafari IP that's out there, and there's no way to really address some of the abuses. So will RMO be tackling some of those things, and also creating IP in a positive way?
That's fantastic. Yes, and you've illuminated, some of the goals and objectives of the IMO quite nicely. And
That's why I have to be transparent, Dr. Barnett, because
yes, yes,
I can't go on like I
absolutely.
don't know
Yeah.
what's
Well,
happening, you
let
know. 'Cause-
I
yeah.
think we should just let the listeners hear about the Unity Day and
Yes,
why they should be there and make it a point to be there. Is
yes, yes, please.
so on Sunday, this coming Sunday, the 27th of August, for all those in Jamaica, we are proud to present a Rastafari Unity Day, which is really our launch, the formal launch event for the RMO. And this is happening from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. in the afternoon at the Peacemakers Association headquarters, which is located at Green Bottom, otherwise known as 19 Mile, in Clarendon, in the parish of Clarendon, right? And this is sort of a little bit beyond, well, those who know Clarendon well know that it's closer to Maypen than it is to Old Harbor. Let me just say that. But it's going to start 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. There will be music, cultural reggae vibes being provided by Breadlocks.
Big up dreadlocks.
Yes, from iYard Radio. There will also be drumming presentations, special drumming presentation from the EABIC. We're going to have drumming from the Nyabingi Order. We're going to have drumming from School of Vision, and we're going to have drumming from the Peacemakers Association. So it'll be, very cultural, very vibrant. And then we'll have idle food, which I believe is free, right? The refreshments are
Yes,
free.
yes, yes. It's a
As far as-
celebration.
So, juices, idle food. And so we are inviting the ones and ones to come out and full joy themselves for a splendorous day, and enjoy the vibrations. And very important to learn more about the RMO, to learn more about its objectives, its mission, and get a first-hand, get to meet the movers and shakers of the RMO directly and in person.
Very
Okay,
crucial, very crucial. And also there'll be a formal signing of
that's
the
right.
Constitution there. So it's a historic moment. And I would also add that August 27, 1975 was the last day that the emperor was seen in the recorded record of history. So I think it's very appropriate that this is a unification day, because after August 27, 1975, Haile Selassie now becomes within the hearts of man. He becomes the personality of every Rastafari brethren and sister. Becomes Rastafari. Bob Marley does the song Jah Live, and it resonates through the four corners of the earth. So having this day as Rastafari Unity Day, I think, and wasn't planned that way, it just fell on that day. So I think the cosmos has conspired to really set, and we don't want to use conspired, but live-spired or inspired I and I to really mark this day, to say that unseen forces, bring I and I together in this hour. There's a lot happening. We see Ethiopia just joined with BRICS nation, the BRIC coming out of the BRICS conference. The global chessboard is lining up. Will Rastafari be ready? And I think, we give thanks to see that Jamaica Rastafari is uniting, and that it's a start. What would you say to the critics of the RMO? Because we know they're out there, that this is, the same old, and so forth and so on. What would you say to them, Dr. Barnett?
Well, I would say, Rasquazi, that the best answer is really through action. So through action and example, we will prove the critics wrong. You know, yeah, you always have your doubters, your critics, but through action and agency, I think is the way to prove the critics wrong.
And one of the things that attracted Ayman to the RMO, because I'm very selective how I deal with my time, is that what I heard from the mansions and organizations is a commitment to come together for cooperative economics and economic development. Typically, when we come together, we're thinking primarily of the advocacy part, and almost to the detriment of everything else. But you and I both know that everything takes money. You know what I mean? So one of the things that I was so encouraged on is that the RMO, is being very forthright in saying, we're coming together to work together to build our own economics. And another thing is that agriculture continues to, be raised in terms of food and water security, and the community, really taking ownership over our ITAL standard and different things. What would you say about the focus on economics?
Yes, most certainly, most definitely. So, the pathway is there. The pathway has been set, and it's through the works that these things can be accomplished. So, um, but as again, and I'm inviting the listeners to come out on Sunday, the 27th of August, and to participate, full joy the day, and all in the spirit of Rastafari unity. And that's why it's deliberately been themed Rastafari Unity Day. And obviously, we want the unity to continue beyond the day, but that's the essence that I want us to focus on, because that is something that has yet to be established in full, Rasquazi. Truth be told,
Yes,
we
yes,
have to be honest with ourselves.
yes,
So
yes.
we gotta aspire to unite, and I'm going to stress unity without uniformity. All right. So I need to respect the differences that do exist between the mansions. This is a reality.
Yes.
There are enough similarities and enough commonalities around which we can unite. So yes, so we give thanks. But on
And
that note, Rasquazi, I have a couple of other engagements.
you're a very busy man. You keep it short and sweet.
Yes, yes.
I would take you long. I'm long-winded, Dr. Barnett, so you kind of cut the thing, but it's all right because you're an important man right now. Big up yourself. You were on Muta last night. You've been doing the rounds dutifully. Let the people know how they can get in contact with the eye. Let them know any information that's important, how they can purchase your book, whatever final word sound that you want to deliver.
Well, the books I mentioned, the Rastafari in the New Millennium, the Rastafari Movement, North American and Caribbean Perspective, those are definitely available on Amazon. The other book, the Leonard Howell, Percival Howell book that we wrote, which is really in Jamaica, with University of West Indies Press, but hopefully it's become available on Amazon. I know it hasn't been readily available. And the newest one that we've done, which is a 2020 Vision Perspective on the Rastafari Movement, that should be available on Amazon now. It should be readily available. Now, beyond that, in terms of contacting me, email is the best thing right now for me, and I'm readily available at just my last name, Barnett, Barnett, the numerals 37, so Barnett37 at hotmail.com.
Yes.
That one
And support the book, people. We have to make the Rastafari dollar circulate. My audience is primarily Rastafari. We have to make the Rastafari dollar circulate. So if we are serious about our uprising and our development, then we have to circulate the dollar So please support Dr. Barnett. I want to take time to just big up our sponsor, CMOS, CMOS Life. You saw the advertisement. Ramia King Designs, also a sponsor. Go visit their website, purchase. They have the cups. They do shipping in the continent of the United States. Also, join us on Patreon. Support the platform, support the channel. We have Dr. Michael Barnett, PR officer of the Rastafari Mansion and organizations, here with us. He gave a very succinct explanation. We're going to have him forward on the platform after the launch to come and tell us about what took place. The launch will also be streaming, so stay tuned, and I will post a link on the Lion Voice Network so that ones can access the stream. It'll be streaming via Breadlocks platform. So again, give thanks, Dr. Barnett. It's been an honor to have you here with the Lion Pride on the Lion Voice Network. We are honored. So just final words before we sign off.
Yeah, well, give thanks for having me, Rasquazi. And as I said, looking forward to the ones joining us on Sunday, August 27th at the Peacemakers Association HQ in Clarendon, Green Bottom, Clarendon, also known 19 Mile. And if you can join physically, I think you said there'll be a link. There'll be is there going to be a online link for the event?
Yes, there'll be a stream, and
be
like I said,
streamed.
tune in here. Lion Voice will share the stream.
Breadlocks.
Make sure that everybody can tune in.
So you will share that. Yes. Give thanks. Yes. Great. All right. Well, thanks for having me.
Yes. Give
and
thanks.
Have a great rest of the evening, Rasquazi, and to all the listeners out there. Give thanks.
Blessings. And you heard it here first. The Rastafari Mansion and organization is launching Jamaica Rastafari, are organizing and centralized. Why? Because the time has come for the Lions to tell our own story. And this is the Lion's Voice.
Well, Lion Voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion Voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion Voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion Voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion Voice.